us on the Sports Show. Of course, harness racing is very popular here in Adelaide, and there's a country cup coming up. We're going to talk about that a little bit later in the show, but we thought we'd get the expert in, Lane Johnson, the curator of harness racing here, and he's got a business, Lane Johnson Horse and Pony Breaking, where they break the colts down, not just teach them to be trotters, so you can go for a ride. You'd be on a nice pony, mate, something nice and easy for you, mate. So, Lane, appreciate you coming in, mate.
All right, thanks for having me.
Hey, mate, let's talk about the curating first, because I guess it doesn't matter which sport, whether you're curating for cricket, curating for the horses, mate, you'll never get it right. No. So it's either too soft, too hard, my horse lost, it's your fault. Does that happen every week for you?
Yeah, not every week, but most weeks. You know, the track can be too hard, too soft, too dry, too dusty. My harness is getting dirty. My harness is dusty. It's just, you know, there's always someone that can do it better than you.
Do you get contacted during the week? Say, listen here, mate, I've got my horse in on the weekend, and I wouldn't mind if it was a little bit damp.
No,
you don't get none of that?
Do that.
That's just the flack you get afterwards.
Yeah, we're always following the weather. We always,
keep an eye on that.
SA Cup Saturday week, the 30th of April. So we're already now looking at the weather.
Does anybody come up and go, great track, mate? What a great track.
Only one or two people.
The ones that win.
The ones that win.
How difficult to prepare the track after, you know, we're coming up the end of summer, the rain's about to come.
Yeah.
How difficult to, in those two periods, I'd imagine you have to do it so differently.
Yeah, well, in the summertime we try and have the track soft, so we add a bit of sand and we harrow the track more. In the winter time, we need the track a bit firmer so the rain and the splash doesn't come up on the horses, so we add a bit of grit and we don't have the track as soft as we do summertime. Summertime we put plenty of water on the track, winter time we don't got to put much on the track.
Well, you're talking about you're preparing, you're looking at the weather now, 2 weeks out. Roughly how long to prepare a good track that you're happy with? Yeah,
we grade the track. If we're racing Saturday night, we might grade it on a Thursday or a Friday, grade it off, just make sure it's all even all over. Sometimes if we get a build up inside the pegs, we pull the pegs out, put plastic cups in them, grade all over the track and pull the pegs out and pull the cups out and put the pegs back in. So it's not just, you know, get the water truck out, let's get a bit of mesh and drag the track. There's a bit more to it.
It's a bit more complicated than that.
Yeah.
Hey, mate, you've been around it a fair while. It's a family affair for you, mate. Your son Corey's had 90 wins this season. Was it following Dad that drew him into it, or he tried other things and then came back into it?
No, he followed Dad. I was hoping he wouldn't follow Dad, but he did. It's a very hard sport. It's good family sport, but it's very hard in this state. There's not much money and people are, you know, we're all sort of there for ourselves. But he's followed he's followed us along the way. So he's doing a good job. He knows the form of every horse. He does his form before he races, and he can tell you what horse to follow, what not to follow, what time this horse will run, what time that one runs. So he's always doing his form.
He's a busy boy too, because he races stock cars.
He races dirt circuit cars as well.
Yeah.
He's won the juniors, not last year, the 2 years before that he's won juniors. So yeah, he can handle a car pretty good. But
how old is he, mate?
He's 19.
19. Yeah. He's had 90 winners.
Yeah.
He's driven 90 winners.
Yes.
So if you go to the races, you might want to get on one of his, just as a small tip for you there.
That's
right. And the daughter, Emma, so she's the starter. So my understanding is she's not only the youngest, she's probably the only female starter in Australia. Would that be right?
Yeah, that's what people tell us. She's the youngest. Max has tried to get her on this show, but she's a bit shy, so she just does her... She works in the office through the week, the race day office, does the fields and things like that with David, and then race night she is the starter most of the time.
Wow.
Not all the time, but most of the time, 90% of the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, but she's the same. She's followed. Corey and Emma used to do pony trot, so they've grown up with the horses and through the sport. So Emma's quite good at her job. Yeah, she's pretty calm. And
Can you remember the times when Winfield used to sponsor? I used to drive one of the cars around.
Winfield, Benson, and
Globe Derby. Pick up the. We used to pick up the stewards.
Oh, okay.
So we drive the Winfield cars around and around the track of the. That's a pretty good night.
That's why the track's a lot better now, because you're not out there, mate, driving it, tearing it up, mate.
Well, you've got to be really careful. I mean, you can't afford to muck about. I mean, there's horses around and whatever.
Mate, you've got a good business. You talk about breaking horses.
Yeah.
Most people look and go, oh, well, you treat them all the same. They're all horses, but they're like people, aren't they? They all have different personalities.
Yeah, they all have their own personality. Some are friendly, some are a bit standoffish, some want to work, some don't want to work, some are easy to get on with, some aren't.
Is it a
Like
tough?
us.
Is it a tough gig breaking them? The ones that don't want it.
The ones that don't want to, you've got to be careful that you don't give them too much too quick. You try and get them that they want to do it. Sometimes we might have to stand over them a bit, but that's not very often, you know.
You've got a favourite horse, mate? Have you had one over the journey that
Yeah,
you know?
Lady Bellanite was the favourite. She's unfortunately her career was cut short. She got crook legs, but she come from Melbourne. She was a bit crazy. A few trainers had her and couldn't get her to go, and we were lucky enough. We spent a bit of time on her, and probably over 12 months we got her going, and she won. So we're quite lucky that way.
You know they win, and you like them because they win, because that brings you a bit of money. But there's again that personality. Did you fall in love with that horse?
She was a bit crazy, so I did fall in love with her because she was a challenge on her own.
Yeah.
You know, she had a lot of. She was like driving a car. She had a lot of gears, but we never seen the best of her. She broke down, and she's had a few foals and that, but none of the foals are like her.
Yeah. Hey, mate, the Country Cup's coming up. There's a bit of prize money around that. Seems like a pretty good concept.
Yep.
Looking forward to it next 2 months?
Yeah, the board's changed the concept now, so the money stays in South Australia, which is good because, you know, other years you've had the interstate horses that just bring over a better horse, they win.
Take the money and leave.
And they take money and leave.
Yep.
Where it's not fair on like the South Australian owners and trainers that are there every Saturday night racing, and then all of a sudden a big night comes and the Victorians or whoever comes over interstate takes the big money and goes and doesn't come back for 12 months.
That could put a few noses out of joint.
Yeah, I've heard it's put a few noses out of joint. No, it's good for us locals. So,
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. But there'd be teams in Melbourne and Sydney just sweating off on a big race in Adelaide because they know that they can bring over something that's going to take our cash.
That's right.
And now it's purely South Australian horses, isn't it? That's it.
Yeah, that's
that can win the money.
Yeah.
Good on you. I think that's great.
That's the way the board's made it. It was something they tried this year.
Yeah.
You know, and a few interstate people have got their noses pushed out of joint, but the money stays here.
And if the shoe was on the other foot and we took great horses over there, would they,
right.
you know, come on, let's be real about it. I think it's a great move.
Yeah.
Fantastic move, because I know a few owners and whatever, and everybody to a man has backed this. They think this is a great idea.
Yeah.
So,
hey, mate, really appreciate you coming in, mate. Good to hear about your son Corey, daughter Emma. So sounds like everybody's involved, mate.
Everyone's
Central Districts, he's a doggies man. So,
I noticed that, mate. I noticed that.
Yeah, they've had a pretty good run. So if you're going to the trots and you get to the harness, you need to find out which horse Corey's on. Get on him and you have a big chance to win, but gamble responsibly. Stay with us. Still, a little bit more to come on the show.